match on Raw in like a minute and some change to Jeff Hardy via a roll up. It did not go well. After the debut and that roll up victory in such a short amount of time, it literally just went downhill from there, and things just spiraled. So hopefully Triple H is able to do things right with him the second time around. And obviously Cross and Scarlett on board because they came back on SmackDown, and apparently the rumor is that they're going to be the number 2 heel in the company right after Roman. So Triple H, you can tell, already has big plans for him. But we also on Raw got Dexter Lumis. So if you noticed, a couple of the segments, there was stuff happening in the background. More specifically, when Kevin Owens left the arena after beating the crap out of Ezekiel, which maybe that's their way of writing Ezekiel off, I guess. But well, after they beat the crap out of Ezekiel, and he was leaving the arena, he was being interviewed, and in the background you could see somebody crash like a car, and a bunch of superstars were like gathering around it and seeing what was going on. And then in another segment, I think with Bailey, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai, which those are 2 other names he brought back. Dakota Kai got released. Io was probably on her way out. She hadn't renewed her contract yet, but it looks like they're being brought back in the fold and called up. But in the background of that, where Bailey, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai were leaving the arena, you can see police like rushing, and then finally, after the main event, when AJ Styles is defeated, The Miz is in the no DQ match. Dexter Lumis got arrested in the crowd and everything, in kayfabe that is. And but considering everything else he's done in kayfabe, I'm surprised that's the first time he's gotten arrested. He's literally kidnapped 2 people, both Roderick Strong and Austin Theory. He's threatened people with an axe during his wedding to Indy Hartwell. Probably one of my favorite NXT segments, by the way. He threatened people with an axe. What else did he do? He just like stalked a bunch of people as well. Other creepy stuff. And I'm surprised it took this long for him to get arrested, but arrested he did. Hey, that stuff's not gonna fly in the main roster, Dex. But I want to see where the story goes from there. Will The Way bail him out? Because apparently the rumor is that Johnny Gargano may be on his way back. That apparently Triple H is in talks with bringing Johnny back, which makes sense. Johnny Gargano was definitely like the bread and butter for a while of NXT, but Triple H wants to bring him back into the fold. So how that story unfolds, we'll see. But there's that stuff, and there's other names as well. I'll talk about being brought back, such as like Bray Wyatt. It's been rumored. Apparently, Top Dollar from and Ashanti the Adonis from the Hit Row stable, which that was definitely short-lived and pretty disappointing how that turned out for them. But apparently they were at the SmackDown tapings. I believe either today. I think they usually tape SmackDown. When they do, they tape it like a day in advance. So they were at the SmackDown tapings. So they may be back into the company, and we may see a lot more returns as time goes on. Pretty much bringing people, like I said, bringing people back into the fold. So, now I ask you guys, who do you want to see return to WWE? And some people have said that Triple H may bring back some former NXT talents who were called up and got released, who are now in AEW, but that's probably going to be harder to do. The only like notable like big jump from AEW to WWE was like Cody Rhodes, but that's about it so far. So we'll see on that. And I wonder if more AEW talent are going to go from AEW to WWE. Apparently Miro and Andrade El Idolo, in kind of a passive aggressive way, showed some frustration to how they're being booked in AEW, where they aren't really getting as much TV time as they would like. But will they return? We'll see. The next thing I want to talk about is, speaking to AEW, is that AEW is coming to Buffalo. Yes, so right on my birthday, September 7th, AEW will be coming to Buffalo. Finally, after all this time. They've been pretty close. I think the closest they've gotten is Rochester, which is only like an hour away. But AEW is finally going to be coming to Buffalo. CM Punk's back. He returned on Dynamite. So, hopefully a lot of big names are there, and hopefully there's some fun action. So, if you're in the Buffalo area and you're going to AEW and you happen to see me, say hello. I'd love to chat with you. But next, what we're going to talk about is the original trilogy of Star Wars versus the prequel trilogy for Star Wars. So, just recently, in fact, as recent as last week, I finished up the prequel trilogy for Star Wars, which, if you haven't already, go check that out. I reviewed Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. So if you haven't already, go check that out over on my YouTube channel, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff while you're there. But yeah, so I finished up the prequel trilogy, and I want to kind of do a comparison so far for the original trilogy. Now, I'm probably going to go into a lot more detail when I do my Star Wars retrospective, and I'm going to do that after I finish up the Star Wars movies, and we don't really have that many more to go. We have, well, we really have left in terms of Star Wars movies is the sequel trilogy, which is episodes 7 through 9, and a couple spin-offs. But in terms of the originals versus the prequels, what I get the sense of in terms of like the difference between them, and maybe this is just me, maybe I'm totally wrong on this, for the originals, it seems more of like an adventure. This is about the Star Wars original trilogy. It seems like more of an adventure. They're going to all these places, and they're doing all these things to stop the evil galactic empire, and to save the galaxy and all that. It's definitely an adventurous feel as they go from place to place, which, of course, isn't a bad thing. All about the journey, not the destination. The journey is how we learn about the characters and how we resonate with them and learn to grow with them and love them and everything. So, not a bad thing at all to be adventure based, and there's a story unfolding when it comes to the original. So it's definitely more of like an adventurous feel, like what a journey to get to the points that they get to in their quest to stop the galactic empire, versus the prequel trilogy. And I know this may not make sense at first, but I'm going to try to explain it in a way. It seems like the prequel tries to tell a bit more of like a story of how Anakin became Darth Vader, how the galactic empire pretty much became evil in the first place, how at first it was the Republic, and then the Republic fell. And we see exactly why Obi-Wan resents Darth Vader and resents how he trained up Anakin and everything, and we see how it blew up in their face and everything, blew up in his face, and we see how the Sith took over pretty much under the nose of the Jedi, and kind of how a lot of this conflict started in the first place. So, it's definitely less of an adventurous feel and more like this is the events, this is how it happened and everything. And it's still some adventure in there, and still a bit of a journey to that point, but it seems more like an explanation almost. I think that's a reasonable way of putting it, is more of an explanation, and try to explain how a lot of this stuff came to be as we see in the original trilogy. Because of course the prequels, while they came out after the originals, obviously the timeline is set before the originals, obviously, but it tries to explain away a lot of the stuff that happened and a lot of stuff that gets visited in the original. So then when you look back at the originals, you say, oh, okay, so this is how they tried to explain it in the prequels and everything. And so we see that contrast there, and I think the contrast is an interesting one, and I'm not sure how far ahead George Lucas thought out of when he decided to do the prequels and everything. Did he always have the prequels in mind when he did the original Star Wars? Was it a last minute thing? Did he say, you know what, I want to keep the Star Wars train going and continue on from here? But yeah, so that differentiation, I think, definitely makes the two sides feel unique, where the original is, like I said, that adventure and everything, and definitely the journey, versus the original is more of an explanation, more of a story, that differentiation definitely separates the two and makes them feel unique in a lot of ways. And obviously, there's the obvious stuff like the animation, graphics, and things like that. How they're a lot more advanced in the prequel trilogy, obviously because they came later. And that differentiation, I think, is an interesting one to make and an interesting one to analyze, especially the why they decided to do things that way. Hey, and when it comes to a narrative and a story being built, like the one being built for Star Wars, there's you want to analyze it. You want to see how the creator came to that point and how things unfolded from there and why they did it this way. It was an artistic choice, was it like a last minute thing, and how and why did they do it that way. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just rambling and everything. Hang on that. But let me know in the comments below. Do you agree or disagree with those sentiments? I'd love to hear from you guys. This next topic is going to be about several shows that have been canceled. It seems like every week there's another show being canceled. Well, a lot of stuff on HBO, on Netflix, on Hulu, I believe. I think even Disney Plus got a show canceled, but a lot of canceled shows canceled after 1-2 seasons. And it's pretty weird because a lot of these shows were successful. And it's weird because a successful show, obviously, you want to keep going. You want people to continue to watch, but for some reason, the show got canceled to the point where even the creators of the show have no idea why. They just say, the network decided they didn't want to continue with it. And I feel like, and again, maybe this is just me, but I feel like when you cancel like a successful show that's doing well, in the midst of it doing well, it kind of shoots you in the foot a little bit. It seems like you're damaging yourself because here you have this show that's very successful that people are watching and tuning into, and you're gonna pull the plug on it and you're not gonna continue it, and you kind of leave people high and dry. Now, a lot of these shows, in fact, I don't think any of these shows I watch, mainly because I don't really watch like TV shows that much anymore. Or I catch shows every once in a blue moon, but for like serious TV, I don't really watch, unfortunately. So if you ask me about a show going on, I'm likely I have no idea what you're talking about. But just from even from like the outside looking in, seeing these shows that are successful being canceled, it's like, why? If it's successful, surely you want to continue that success. Why would you stifle that thing and pretty much clip the wings of the thing and making you successful, bringing in that revenue? Maybe there's more to it. Maybe there's a bigger picture. Maybe there's something I'm missing. But it's just weird how the shows are being canceled when they're successful. Now, not every show that gets canceled is successful. In fact, that's why a lot of shows get canceled, because they're not successful. But if you have a successful show, why not keep it around? But again, maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just me from the outside looking in. Maybe there's something I'm not getting, perhaps. But this final topic that I want to talk about is the will to succeed. Now, let's see if I can find like an actual definition for it. But the will to succeed. A lot of times in life, there are things that are not going to be easy to accomplish. There's going to be stuff that you're going to have to work towards, and stuff that you may either fail at or not get the first time around. But if you want something in life and you want it bad enough, you will be willing to do anything to achieve it. You'll be able to stick with the trials and tribulations to be able to accomplish that thing that you want to accomplish. For example, look at a video game. In story mode of a video game, there's a lot you may have to put up with as you're going through the game. But you go through it because you know there's going to be a payoff. There's going to be either a good narrative if maybe a twist is coming up, or in some cases you just want to get to the end of the game. And eventually you will get to the end of the game, and you'll be like, okay, that part tripped me up, but I still got to the end because I wanted to continue, because I knew this payoff would be worth it. It's not always worth it, but a lot of times it's worth it. And I'll say that some things in life are worth the wait and worth the hard work. And if you continue and stick with it and don't give up even when bad things come your way, even when those trials come your way, you will succeed. You will be successful. You will learn stuff. Even if it doesn't happen when and how exactly you want it, I'm sure it will happen, and I'm sure you'll be glad it happened the way it did. Because either it'll be just like you imagine, and sometimes even more, or because of that hard work or going into it, the victory will feel that much sweeter, or you'll learn something from it. It'll be a learning experience for you, I should say. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. If you can, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff here on the YouTube channel. Share it with your friends, and I will see you guys later. Peace.